Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Good evening. We'll just be waiting 1 or 2 minutes until everybody comes on. Let me know where you're from, who you are, who's with us. I'll be watching any questions as we go along, so I'll be happy to respond to anything while we go along. Hello, hello. I see more people coming in. I'm really excited. So, tell me who you are, where you're from, so we can have our interaction together. We'll just wait 1 more minute to start. Well, someone wanted to speak. I don't know if you can speak. I think we can only, hello, Matt. Hello. I think we can only chat in writing. So we feel free to write your messages, tell me who you are, where you're from, as we go along. So today we're going to go over gluten sensitivity. Hello, Bella. Gluten sensitivity. It's very popular. Unfortunately, many people suffer from gluten sensitivity. Many people have issues. Hello, Anna Marie from Paris. Cecile, hello. So I'm very happy that we're all together today. This is going to be our last webinar in 2022. More to come in January, though. No worries. Okay, so let's start because I want to start with a theory, as I usually do in the beginning, and then get our hands on application in quantum biofeedback with our amazing device. We have Catalina. Hi, hello, everyone from London. Cold up there, too. So let's start. Gluten. What is gluten? Gluten is a protein that naturally occurs in a number of grains, okay? Gluten is a general name for the proteins found in wheat, like wheat berries, durum, MR, semolina, spelt, farina, farro, graham, kamut, khorasan, wheat, einkorn, rye, barley, and trichole, a cross type between wheat and rye. Gluten is what helps foods maintain their shape. It acts like a glue that holds food together, right? That's why gluten, it's like gluey forms, especially in the digestive system. It forms with water like a gluey paste. That is what causes the issues, especially to people who are sensitive. So gluten can be found in many, many types of foods, even ones that could not be expected. So it's very, very difficult to go 100% gluten-free because you could just never know, right? So as an ingredient, there are 2 subproteins in gluten. There's the glutenine, and gliadin. And they form strands which strengthen dough and create pockets which trap air released from leaving agents such as yeast. In general, North America wheat has a higher gluten content than Europe. Okay, that's just as a informational. Glutenin and gliadin are the 2 main proteins in gluten, but gliadin is the one responsible for most of the adverse effects on our health. The big 3, it's the wheat, the barley, and the rye in gluten. Wheat is commonly found in breads, baked goods, soups, pasta, cereals, sauces, salad dressings, and roux, which is a mixture of flour and fat to thicken sauces. Barley, which is commonly found in malt, malted barley, flour, malted milk, milkshakes, malt extract, malt syrup, malt flavoring, everything with malt, right? Food colorings, soups, beer, and brewer's yeast. And then there's rye, which is commonly found in rye bread, such as pumpernickel, rye beer, and cereals. Okay, other grains that have gluten is the triticale, which is a newer type of grain, specifically grown to have a similar quality as wheat, while also being more tolerant in the growing conditions like rye. It was first bred in laboratories in the 19th century, and that's potentially found in breads, again, pasta, and cereals. Other grains we have are also oats. Now, usually medical experts for celiac disease recommend only oats that mention gluten-free, okay? Normally, oats are gluten-free, but they may have a contact, and they're grown side by side, perhaps with wheat, barley, and rye. So a counter contact may occur. So that specifically is taken care of when a product says gluten-free. These issues are taken into consideration. Patients eating oats from any source may complain of symptoms. Oats have a protein called avenin, and that's very similar to gluten. So some people with celiac disease may also have an immune response to avenin as well as gluten. Okay, so those are two different types of things. Oats also contain other substances that may cause a reaction for some people, even with or without celiac disease. So reactions to fiber or fermentable carbohydrates in a product that contain oats are usually not immune reactions, but can cause some kind of discomfort, okay? These things I'll be showing you how we see them in our device. It's very important that you use oats. If you have an issue, you use oats that do say gluten-free if you decide to eat oats and you have celiac disease or some kind of immune response there. Now, what are some gluten-free alternatives to bread, pizza, etc.? People wishing to eat carbohydrates yet avoid gluten can choose from a variety of substitutes formulated and labeled as gluten-free. These foods are typically developed using one or more gluten-free grains, such as corn, quinoa, rice, tapioca, teff, and in some cases oats, and are available as breads, cakes, muffins, crackers, pasta, and even pizza crust. In the absence of direct substitutes, people wishing to avoid gluten can adjust their food selections and replace with gluten-containing grains. Examples are foods such as rice cakes, rice-based sides, 100% corn-based tortillas, taco shells, potatoes of all varieties and formats, quinoa, and quinoa-based foods. Which people benefit most from a gluten-free diet? People with celiac disease and clinically diagnosed condition have a cell-mediated allergy to gluten, and that results in an inflammation of the lower gastrointestinal tract. People with celiac disease must completely avoid consumption of gluten. Okay. Then there are people with a gluten sensitivity or gluten intolerance, and they may not have been diagnosed with celiac disease. They're non-celiac sensitivity. It's another word for gluten intolerance. However, they do exhibit similar symptoms after ingestion of gluten, such as diarrhea or chronic fatigue or headaches, which are alleviated upon exclusion of gluten from the diet. And other people may have dermatitis herpetiformis, it's DH. It's a skin rash very similar to eczema that results from eating gluten. It is an autoimmune response that exhibits itself as a persistent red, itchy rash that may produce blisters and bumps. Although people with celiac disease may have DH, the reverse is not always true. Wheat allergy, and there's an allergy to wheat, but not to all grains or to gluten itself, okay? Or there's also a newer type of syndrome called gluten ataxia. This is a very rare autoimmune disorder and rather new, and that causes your body to attack part of your brain or cerebellum in response to gluten. Symptoms usually start off as mild balance problems, migraines, and as it progresses, it appears with eye issues and fine motor skills and motor control in general. Now here I want to mention that, and we'll be seeing that when we do our hands-on approach, there are many neurological issues and connections to the gastrointestinal issues and digestive issues with gluten sensitivity to neurological issues such as Alzheimer, bipolar depression, Parkinson, autism, ADHD. We'll be looking into all that too. So, you know, it's that gut-brain connection axis that we'll be going over. Now, how do I know if I'm gluten intolerant? You may have a gluten intolerance if you get sick after eating gluten. You might feel tired, nauseous, bloated. Another name for gluten intolerance is non-celiac gluten sensitivity, as I said before. Now, what does gluten do to your body? Humans have digestive enzymes that help us break down food. And the protease is the enzyme that helps your body process these proteins, but it can't completely break down gluten. Undigested gluten makes its way to the small intestine, and most people can handle the undigested gluten with no problem. But in some people, gluten can trigger a severe autoimmune response or other unpleasant symptoms. Now, digestive enzymes in general are produced by our body, but the thing is that as we get older, these digestive enzymes are produced less and less, causing more of an issue. Okay, so that's why it's really important to go into that area in our device. I'll be showing you that. Some people who don't have celiac disease still seem to feel sick after eating foods that contain gluten. They may experience bloating, diarrhea, headaches, or skin rashes, as I said before, but this could be a reaction to poorly digested carbohydrates and not just gluten. These carbs are called FODMAPs, right? And they ferment in your gut. People with sensitive guts may experience discomfort from that fermentation, not necessarily from the gluten. FODMAPs is abbreviation for fermental, oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. And this is a short chain carbohydrate sugars that the small intestine absorbs poorly, causing digestive distress. Now, these we see in our device. I'm showing you these because this is very important to understand when we're looking, you know, in our panels and understand what's going on with the digestive system. Symptoms of issues with FODMAPs are cramping, diarrhea, constipation, stomach bloating, gas, flatulence, etc. So, you know, very similar also again to celiac disease. It's digestive issues. As I said, I already mentioned this about FODMAPs. Okay, so how does low FODMAP diet work? Low FODMAP is a three-step elimination diet. Okay, first you stop eating certain foods that are high on the FODMAP foods for 2 to 6 weeks. Next, you slowly reintroduce them to see which are troublesome every 3 days, one at a time, to see if the symptoms, what symptoms are caused. And once you identify the foods that these symptoms, you can then avoid or limit them while you enjoy everything else worry-free. So that's a low FODMAP diet, and how to address that issue alongside working with our quantum biofeedback amazing device. Okay, what can I eat on the FODMAP diet? Foods that trigger symptoms vary from person to person. So to ease irritable bowel syndrome or SIBO symptoms, it's essential to avoid high FODMAP foods that aggravate the gut. The high FODMAP foods are dairy-based, yogurt and ice cream, wheat-based products, beans and lentils, vegetables, artichokes, asparagus, onions, garlic, and some fruits such as apples, cherries, pears, and peaches. Okay, these are high FODMAP foods containing, high sugar levels, right? Instead, you base your meals around low FODMAP foods such as eggs, meat, certain cheeses like brie, camembert, cheddar, feta, almond milk, grains like rice, quinoa, and oats, vegetables like, eggplant, potatoes, zucchini, and fruits such as grapes, oranges, strawberries, blueberries, and pineapple. Research suggests that some people could have small intestines that don't work properly, and the lining might be too permeable, allowing some undigested gluten bacteria or other substances to go through the lining into the bloodstream, causing inflammation and blood toxicity. So there's a lot of confusion between about gluten being an evil food. Okay, gluten isn't inherently bad for most people. We must differentiate what is actually causing the problem. And that's where our quantum biofeedback device is great at helping us. We as humans have consumed gluten for as long as people have been making bread, for centuries. Foods with gluten have been providing people with protein, soluble fiber, and nutrients. Gluten in itself, especially gluten found in whole grains, is not bad for healthy people, those whose bodies can tolerate it. However, grains like wheat are often stripped down as made processed foods, as snack crackers, potato chips, etc. This is what is causing most of the issues, the processed part. These refined products have very little resemblance to the actual wheat plant, which is actually highly nutritious. They tend to contain things like white rice flour and starches, but not whole grain. So many people who adopt a gluten-free diet, but still eat processed foods, find they continue to have weight gain, blood sugar swings, and other health issues. So it's not the gluten in foods that's causing the health issues, but the sodium, sugar, and other additives in processed foods. We also must take care of this. Nowadays, there are several ways to detoxify from gluten peptides, and the most common is a gluten-free diet, which has been proved effective. Prevention programs, enzymatic therapy, correction of gluten pathogenicity pathways, genetically modified grains with reduced immunotoxicity, and of course, our quantum biofeedback devices. A deep understanding of gluten intolerance, underlying mechanisms, and detailed knowledge of gluten properties may lead to the emergence of novel, effective approaches for treatment of gluten-related disorders. Now, here I have a little table with the three major types of gluten-related disorders. There's celiac disease, allergy to wheat, and non-celiac gluten sensitivity. For the first and the last one, there is a genetic underlying cause. So we do need to look into the DNA and the chromosomes that's behind that. There are lab markers that they can do tests on these things. For the autoimmune, usually IgA, IgG, and anti-TG. Antibodies are taken, and then maybe even a biopsy can be taken from the small intestine. Symptoms are atrophy of the villi, hyperplasia and cryptohyperplasia, increased infiltration of lymphocytes. Allergy to wheat is also symptoms of mucosal damage and increased infiltration of intraepithelial lymphocytes, or atrophy of the villi and cryptohyperplasia. Okay, and again, the same for the non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Okay. As I said before, the two main ways to determine if a person has celiac disease are through blood tests A common one is the TDGA and the TTG, and IgA tests. And if that is positive, usually the doctor recommends a biopsy to confirm the results, biopsy from the small intestine. Okay, so that was that on for the theory. And now I'd like to show you the hands-on. This is what you've been waiting for. Okay, there's many ways and many areas we can go through. I've already done calibration and testing, so let's go directly to the matrix. Okay, and here we go. I've made our client as a gluten sensitivity webinar. Now, those of you who have already done the technician and specialist classes with me, we've learned how to, first analyze our main matrix and understand, explore risks of. Here we see a reactivity of hyperactive. Explore is all clear. Oxygenation transfer dysfunction, giving us an idea that something's going on. The oxygenation transfer dysfunction with the circulation of the blood, which is also another important factor concerning gluten. Okay, so when we're addressing the gluten issues, we have to understand what we're reading. Okay, so what I want to do firstly is let's search gluten. Search gluten, okay, and I don't see a lot of red. I don't see reds, okay, but I do see one item over 90, because remember that even the items that are over 90 are issues and that we have to take into consideration. Now, the one issue that's coming up over 90 is at 94 reactivity, and it's blue color, giving us the indication it's over 90, so it is type of acute, but it's also chronic because it's blue. Okay, and it's giving us protease. Didn't I mention in our theory the protease enzyme? So it wants us to activate and work on and give our client, our webinar client, the protease enzymes, and also some acidophilus to help with that gluten, the gut fermentation that I also talked about. Okay, so something's going on there. I can load that up into my blue box. And let's take gluten. I already put it here, okay. And let us do an individual reaction. It's at 39. 39 may mean, okay, that for some reason it didn't react, okay. Matrix, a lot of times I get questions, oh, I have celiac disease, but it's not coming up in the matrix. It's coming up as a low number. Well, it could be chronic. That's why. And we're so used to having that as an issue, it's not coming up in the reds, okay? So what we need to do is do an individual reaction on it to see. It's an individual reaction, is to see specifically how gluten reacts on us. Remember, the testing that we do has to be done properly. I explained this in our basic navigation courses, in our technician courses. Testing has to be done very properly, okay, to get a good hierarchy and reaction on all items in the matrix. But sometimes they are hidden, and items that we do have are hidden within the matrix. And that's when we do need to do an individual reaction to have a better understanding of what's actually going on. So gluten, individual reaction. We're testing gluten against us to get a more deeper understanding. I don't know if you all know about the individual reaction going through this, but I'm here for whatever you need. And we learned this in our technician courses. So lo and behold, look what came up. gluten at 91 reaction. These numbers go up to 100. They're not the same reactions as in the matrix, right? So the higher the number, okay, we want a gluten reaction of 0, but we got 91%, meaning we are very reactive and very allergic, 69%. Usually we say anything over 50 in allergic reaction is an issue, but I've noticed even issues like that's over 30 are issues. Okay, so 69 is a high allergic reaction. Resonating, we're also resonating with it. So that is also an emotional connection with gluten, meaning the more anxiety we have, right? The more sensitive we get to the gluten. Practice makes perfect with this individual reaction results. I know it's, kind of difficult to understand, but the more you do it, the more you'll understand. And the more we have classes, the more you'll understand well. You can go over, our video is going to be on YouTube channel, so you can go over the video and, hear me again and again to understand what each of these 4 numbers mean. Okay, so toxic system of patient, slow reaction. Okay, slow reactivity may be the reason why gluten was at 30 something in the reaction in the matrix. Okay, it's telling us to do a 3-minute zap, and it's linked to emotions. There we go. Emotions, mental factors, guilt. Wow, a lot of emotions. So it's what I was saying before in our theory that the gut brain axis is interrelated. Okay, there are issues with gluten. There are reactions with gluten, but emotions, and here it's telling us specifically mental factors, a lot of things going in the mind, around the mind, cognitive issues, a lot of thoughts and guilt. Okay, so what we do here is a 3-minute zap. I'm not going to do it because I have so many things to go over with you, but I'll just do, small 30-second zaps to get our rectification, just so I can show you. Isn't this interesting? We have so much to go over though, and so little time. So, yeah. %. So, we do this over and over again till we get a very good result in the rectification, over 85. Okay. So first of all, we reduce that stress as we go along. Okay. And second, we're telling the artificial intelligence of our device that this is our focus. Okay. It always depends on how we start and how we work, and our device adapts to how we work. Right. So, let me write guilt here. Guilt and cognitive mental factors. Okay. And so let's go even deeper and get more information. Gluten. What did we say with the celiac disease, the allergy, etc.? It has to do also with the DNA and the hereditary factors, right? So let's go into chromosomes and see possibly how gluten how it's been affecting us in our DNA, maybe. So we test gluten against the chromosomes. And let's go deeper into the information that we're going to get. So chromosome 17q for glycogen storage. There we go. The sugar and the FODMAP that I was talking about. Osteoporosis. Okay, probably, yeah, because we're not getting enough nutrients, through our small intestine. the sugar regulation, sucrose again, Huntington disease, different syndromes. That's interesting. Tyrosinase, cardiopathy, Marfan-Tay leukemia, depression. Okay. Why is this interesting? Because I wanted to go into that in our next steps and our next few steps, because amino acids are very, very important as a building block for proper metabolic digestion. Very, very important. So what I do here with these chromosomes, I open up my info report and I load them up here. Just click on them once and they'll be loaded. Okay. And let's go to index here. What information? 2583, what it gave us? The Sarcode. Who knows? If I had my specific client here, it's not the ankle, the eye. Sorry, that was my mouse. If I had my client here, I would ask them, do they have issues with your eyes? I'd go, okay, I'm wearing glasses too. Could be. Because, if the digestive process isn't working correctly, it affects your whole body. Okay, so maybe, I'm losing nutrients for good eyesight. Okay, always respect what the device is telling you. For some reason, it comes up. Okay. Another thing that we can do, since emotions were coming up in the individual reactions, click on emotions and let's get more information around the gluten and the emotion and what emotions, apart from the guilt that was coming up in the individual reaction, is affecting us with the gluten and is correlated. Abandonment, apathy, need to change, and anger. Okay, so if you have your client in front of you for some reason, you can discuss this with them and see why these emotions are coming up. They're always on the spot, always. Never goes. It's never off. Okay, for some reason they come up. Enzymes, another good one. Let's see, look here. This is really interesting. What did I say before about the gut-brain axis and connection? Alzheimer's coming up under enzymes. Alimentary system. Okay, there we go with the neurological issues that are correlated with gluten sensitivity. Okay, they have noticed, and the medical field is more and more in tune with this, and saying that if you cut gluten, a lot of neurological diseases like Alzheimer, like Parkinson, like multiple sclerosis, like a lot of issues are correlated, and symptoms start being reduced. Okay, so this is really interesting. Okay, so what we would do, I usually do this, I like to load whatever's over 90 in my little blue box, okay, and help with that. So enzymes are really important. I went over that. Now, other things here in our list that are important to take into consideration is the bio war. There we go. Enzyme restrictor, DNA snipper. For some reason, in the biological warfare variation, DNA enzymes are being restricted from being produced. Enzymes are produced within our body, okay? And for some reason, there's like a biological war and these are reduced. And the enzyme restriction is very, very, it's not good. It's not good for our entire system, okay? Because the enzymes and the proteins, it's the chain reaction and the effect on our physiological body. Okay, so enzyme, there is one. So let's also look into GM foods. Okay, so here we see that we don't have direct reds, let's say, any contact with GM foods, but we can always do individual reactions and make sure that there weren't any connection of the client with the genetically modified foods, because all those do create, it's the processed foods that are an issue, okay? Okay, having said that, in our initial, yeah, you're right, media, that nothing is by accident. Yeah, it is amazing. I'm never ceased to be amazed by our devices. Okay, so our next step is going to, let's go into our short circuits. Shortcut to RX. Let's see what is up here. Artichoke, allergic reaction, constitution, weak immune system, wine and alcohol. Allergic. I'm allergic to wine and alcohol. There's a toxic burden there. I am. Enzyme restrictor. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything, but sometimes you see things like coming up mucosal, okay, which is an issue of the gut mucus in the intestine causing allergy to gluten. You see different things here in the lymphocytes, etc. Okay, so, sorry. Short circuits, you always want to load, make it yellow, and close. Okay, because whatever you load in your short circuits, you're loading in the piggyback, and you're telling your artificial intelligence, to be working on it. Okay, so let's go into the risk profile. So this is really, really important so you can understand what you're clicking. We're not just clicking, okay? We have to understand what we're clicking. Now look at all the items over 90. Vitamin deficiency, there we go, or excess. What would that mean? Vitamin deficiency is vitamin deficiency, or eating of too much the same thing and not having a variety in your foods. Okay, so there's a vitamin deficiency. Yeah, and vitamin deficiency is also caused by gluten intolerance. When there's inflammation in the small intestine, there's no nutritional absorption. So it's logical, right? Kidney, okay, we double click. Amoebas, the gut, and the fermentation going on there. Infection, fermentation, again, digestive. Look at all this bacteria, toxicity. Just so happens everything has to do with the gut issue and the gluten intolerance, right? Oxidations, sugar regulation for the FODMAP that I was talking about, neurological, the Alzheimer that was coming up. Radiation, environmental, fungus, hormonal, click everything that's over 90. And there we go with stress. I like to also put emotional risk there. Yeah. Okay. So many things. So let's do a small little treat by loading them in the risk profile. You all know, I'm sure, that they're also loaded in the body viewer. We're going to be we can open up the body viewer. Now let's have that open. And as soon as I have a longer therapy, we'll go to the body viewer. Okay, now here, let's go into the minerals, because minerals are so important for, reduction of and better digestive process, reduction of inflammation, and a better digestive process. So let's, click on whatever's over 100. Selenium, good for, inflammation. Phosphorus, all these, so many deficiencies in minerals here because they are not absorbed in the intestine. Okay. 11, we want a good rectification here. Do it a couple of times. You see, it's not going up so quickly because there is vitamin deficiency and mineral deficiency. 54, let's do it a couple of times till we get it up to 85. 60, it's going up slowly. So anything you always notice that goes up slowly in rectification means that there is an issue there. Okay, 95, we got it. Okay, so we can close and let's go to the amino acids, which are very, very important for the proper metabolic digestive functions, okay, and proper homeostasis. Now, I want to, apart from clicking and loading the ones that are over 100, which are important, of course, I want to also focus on some amino acids that are directly related with the digestive function and helps with a gluten intolerance. And first of all, this one is the cysteine and the tyrosine, methionine, okay, and phenylalanine. Okay, these are very, very important for the building blocks and help with homeostasis. Okay, they help with the hormones later on. Okay, other ones that also help with fat digestion are valine. Where's that? There, valine. Isoleucine. There. Okay, and leucine. These are very important. These ones are important for the emotional part. Tryptophan is also very important. I will put that on both tryptophans. There's 2 tryptophans here. Okay, and do a treat. These all will help with the emotions, the digestive process, and reduction of inflammation, okay, for proper metabolic digestion. Look, only 1%. So that's going to go up very slowly. Only 14. Look how slow. This one's going up slow. 34. Because it's needed. Okay. And you'll notice when you start working like this, your client is going to be immediately relaxed. Your client or you, whoever you're working on, you're creating that basis for proper relaxation, proper acceptance of the remaining therapy. Okay, it's important to not just go from here to there, etc., and have a logical sequence in your therapy. Okay, that way you get better results. You can never go wrong with your quantum biofeedback. In any therapy you do good. So there's no issue there. But the point is to do it better and to get a better and quicker result for what you're doing. So you close here and zap close there. And I like to go into the universal therapies, as I've taught my students always, it's a good idea to go into the vagus nerve. First of all, vagus nerve is very important for the digestive. It's it's creating that connection between the gut and the brain, right? And it reduces inflammation, it reduces stress, it stimulates digestion, okay? So all this will help with the issues that you're facing with gluten intolerance and all those issues. Today I was working on a child that has epilepsy, and I did this protocol on him today with the gluten intolerance, and because children, they're always eating a lot of issues, and I'm telling the mother, you shouldn't be eating these things, croissants, chips, breads, cookies, all these things, really affecting them. Anyways, but just the therapy I did on the child, it was amazing. I mean, he left totally different, working in this manner. Okay, but you do get even better results, even when you're habitual, your habits in your daily life, are proper and you help, because if you have a good daily diet and you follow your proper diet and you're doing what you should be doing every day along with your quantum biofeedback therapies, you get fantastic results and quicker. So here, when we do the vagus nerve, you do the sympathetic and then the parasympathetic. Go again to your vagus nerve, and so you're relaxing the client. They will be more receptive to the remaining therapy that you're going to be doing. They're probably already sleeping, and you're reducing that inflammation, okay, and stimulating the digestion process. Normally, while I'm working here, I'm loading up all our piggybacks, but I don't want right now to confuse you by going back and forth. I'm going to go into a longer therapy later on, and I'll be loading the body viewer and all the piggyback things. But okay, so this is 1.5 minutes. I can go now to the body viewer. Okay, so look, here in the body viewer, it's really important. You'll notice that all the items from the risk profile are loaded. It's really important that you can load your unconscious choices, and it'll start loading everything that needs to be loaded. But other important items to be loaded here, first of all, the thymus. The thymus gland is very important for those T lymphocytes, especially for celiac disease, because it's the autoimmune issue. So you do want the thymus, okay? You do want the lymphatics. There we go, lymph inflamed. The digestive, stomach, liver, small intestine, pancreas. I would do it all. The whole entire digestive system loaded in the piggyback, intestinal interior and the gallbladder. Load the whole thing up, and load your brain, all your brain. Remember the gut-brain axis. Amygdala and the cerebellum. Okay. Oops. So as soon as the front therapy is over, it takes us back here, and let's click on the vagus nerve one last time to get a good rectification. Let us go back now to the body viewer. So yeah, I've loaded the entire brain. The next thing that I would like to load is the anti-inflammation anti-degeneration, allergies, stimulate nutritional auditory. Okay, now if there was pain, I would do the pain. Stress is a good one, definitely. Okay. Okay, depending on other issues that they may have, you can, load them. But definitely those are good ones. Anxiety, okay? I would also do addiction because it's addiction to those foods that they're eating. So you want to help them get off those foods. So yeah, emotions, okay? And relaxation is also a good one. So that's working in the background. Okay, the next one that we can open is the disease dictionary. I'll load that one in just a moment because this is almost finished. Oh, in the electropot, I like to put autofocus as well. And ABS autofocus. Check on that so we can have a stronger therapy. Okay, that's enough from here. Now, normally, I would do the autoscaler, the auto meridian, the top suggested items, but I'm not going to go into those things right now because I want to go to the gluten-specific therapies and help you on that area. I'm sure you know the autoscaler and the auto meridian. Okay, now something I didn't show you here is if you go to reporting, you can see the hyper-reactant report. And if you click on that, okay, it gives you information here on items, hyper-reactant items, that's over. Look at these, they're all high, even 90s. There's only the dairy and the milk is at 88. Okay, so let's start at the top. 115 for sulfides and food additives. There we go, the chips and all the food additives. That's an issue. Gluten and grain is at 91. It's kind of, it's not that high, even though, remember, our individual reaction was really high, but maybe we're not eating that much gluten. So that's why it's there. But there is a sensitivity. So look, we also have to consider that. Maybe that's why it was only at 39, the gluten, because I'm not eating, I'm like really low on gluten. So maybe that's why it's at 39, but there is a sensitivity, okay? So there's always a reason behind everything. You just have to understand the story that the device is trying to tell you. So here it is at 91, so it is an issue. Other issues, animal hair. Okay, that's my little dog. Allergies, food. Sugar, 100. Okay, so that's an issue. So here is another way to assess the hyperreactant report. Another area that you can see these numbers again are in the programs and Allersode Hyper-Reactant here. There we go. They're not the same numbers because these numbers came from the matrix and these numbers are reacting from the Allersodes, but they're they're about the same. Still, again, dairy did come up quite high. Grain is at 95, sensitivity to odors, sugar again. Okay, so you can work on the gluten issues here. What we do is we double click and it opens the hyperreactant info box. Start double clicking on everything that's red. I usually double click everything up till the 90s, even the 90s, okay? So we see a lot of issues here. Rye, there we go. The three gluten items. Rye, let's go further up. Usually I don't see so many, things over 90. I like to load everything here to help. Wow, a lot of things over 90. Probably because I'm focusing on the gluten sensitivity webinar. It's all of us. Okay, look how many items. Oh my, so many. Okay, let's, I'm almost done here. There's the malt, right? I went over that in the theory. The malt there is also an issue. Cane sugar, okay. Okay, maltose, there we go again. $90, okay, and the phenols. Do also the phenols. Phenols are chemicals that are in our environment, okay. And we do the hyper-reactant chart. Okay, I loaded so many. And we do a treat with allergic desensitization therapy. Okay. And you'll notice the more you work at it, the less items will be there. Okay. The more you work at everything. Maybe because I put so many items there, this therapy is longer. Okay, rectified at 91%, which is fantastic. So we close there and go to Hyper-Reactant Therapy, okay? And we would load the Allersode report items. There we go, and all those items that we loaded, they're loaded in piggyback. Body areas affected, digestion, okay? Hormones, enzyme production, neurological, okay, Alzheimer's is coming up, right? Symptoms, gluten intolerance, let's say, bloated digestive issues, neurological, say memory, since it all depends on what the issues are, right? So what you would do is you would relieve inflammation, reduce histamine cascade, relieve redness, and check on all of these and click 1 minute. Now I'm not going to do it because usually it goes into a longer therapy than 1 minute. It extends the time. What it is it does a desensitization and it extends time of therapy additional 1 minute. That's what that means. So, the more you have here, it stays here about 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm not going to do it. You do a rectification until it's over 85. Okay, do it over and over again until you get a good rectification. This is very important. And here, it takes you directly. I like going into the Meridian Therapy through the allergies and going back here into the Universal Meridian Therapy. Here you can see what meridians have been affected by gluten intolerance. Okay, and that's your meridians to that item. So we see which meridian have been affected so we can address them. So it's testing gluten's intolerance against all the meridians. Let's see what's going to come up. Okay, there we go. So yellow are the ones that are slightly weak and green, greatly weak. We didn't get any greens, which is great. We got though some yellows, the large intestine, neurological, and kidney meridian that's been affected from the gluten intolerance. So what we would do is just click on the yellows and the greens. We don't have greens though right now. The reds and the whites are already improved. Okay, so there were issues there. There were issues for the small intestine and ancestral, but they were addressed just by going in through here. Okay, it just needed a little bit more for the large intestine. It's corrected. The neurological, okay, for that, the gut-brain association, right? The Alzheimer and the kidney meridian. Corrected neurological, great, and kidney. So close. I would, after that, do the autoscaler. I'm not going to do it right now, so I'm not stuck in a therapy, but you know that. Okay. Next up, I would want to go into the nutritional panel, nutrition and homeopathy feedback panel. Okay. So look here. It's what I was saying in the theory in the beginning. Okay, apart from the vitamins that we see here, and we see a low issue of vitamin K. Vitamin K family, apart from vitamin K, it's also the probiotics that are needed. And you see from 65, it shows us that it's chronically needed. Okay. Let's take a look at all these digestive issues. Even though we don't see items over 100, internal enzymes is at 97, so it is an issue. But we do see general digestion 67, so that means it's a chronic issue. Fat digestion is so-so. Carbohydrate digestion is borderline, and protein digestion. Let's go one by one in there. Now, tetrapeptides. What did I say in the theory? Peptides, very important. Enzymes, very important for proper digestion and addressing gluten intolerance and inflammation there. So do a Nutrienergy Balance. This is really, really important. Yes. Yes, you're right, Matteo. These nutritional panels give us so much information. It's not just pressing the buttons. It gives us a lot of information to understand what's going on. And look, it's the tetrapeptides in the jejunum, which is the intestinal area, and it's at 124. There's an issue there. It's not working properly. Intertwined with inherited, so it's the chromosome factor that we've already loaded. Hypoadrenia, cortisol, tired, chronic fatigue, inherited 2 times. Sugar regulation for those carbohydrates. So I would do Nutrienergy Balance over and over again until you get a good rectification of over 85. Okay. That was the protein digestion. Let's go into the carbohydrate digestion. Remember what I said in the beginning about the what was it called again? The FODMAP. Wow. I forgot what it was called again. I have that issue with the memory. FODMAP. What did I, one moment. Here we go. I have my little thingy here. There we go. It was the FODMAPs. The FODMAPs, remember, is fermentable oligosaccharides, all the saccharides, right? Disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. It's a short chain of carbohydrates. Okay, so this panel shows the FODMAPs. Okay, and what's going on here. Look, so a lot of people mistake eating gluten with the FODMAPs, right? And think they have gluten intolerance when they actually have an intolerance there and the issue with the FODMAPs. So and we see it right here. Okay, so what we do is again a Nutrienergy Balance. And we could do that diet, how I mentioned before, cutting down on those high FODMAPs for 2 or 3 weeks, and then start inserting it every 3 days, something new, the dairy products, the wheat products, this, that, and that, and seeing which items affect us more. Okay. But while doing that, you can do therapy here. But this is a picture of what's going on in our body with these sugars. So we're desensitizing and we're sending, we're addressing all the digestive issues around the FODMAPs here and the sugar-related issues of gluten. Okay, so that's 38. We would do it over and over again till we get a good rectification of over 85. Let's go to the fat digestion. Okay, again, diglyceride, phospholipids, monoglyceride, cholesterol, fatty acids. We have issues here that it's around the digestive and the gallbladder and the stomach and the oral issues here. Okay, so again, you do a Nutrienergy Balance on all the items. And this will help in general the alimentary system disease. Look, it's the alimentary system disease was coming up just alongside with the Alzheimer. Okay, so it's the gut brain axis and connection there. And it's just telling us this. It's actually telling us straight up what's going on. It's just for us to understand the story and what it's trying to tell us. Okay, so sometimes it doesn't say gluten intolerance specifically, but it's there. Okay, it's there. Excuse me. It's from talking. Okay, so I would do it again till we have a good rectification of over 85. Okay, we close that. We did the fat, the general digestion. Again, look, it shows us where in the digestive tract, where the issues are. The duodenum, jejunum. Ileum is more chronic. Colon, bowel flora, more chronic. And bowel flora has to do with that fermentation that we were talking about with the FODMAP. Okay, so let's do a Nutrienergy Balance. So that's why it's so important to get a good probiotic. Reduce inflammation, how I showed you with all these ways, and addressing these issues. Other conflicts with vaccination. Emotions. Okay, so, definitely also, vaccinations has affected the enzymes, the hormones, all this. Rectified 79%. Okay, close. I would do it over and over again until we get a good 85% rectification. Let's go into the internal enzymes that I was saying in the beginning. Internal enzymes. Which ones came up? HCl production for the stomach. Very important for digestion. Increased bile production. Issue with the gallbladder. Okay, do everything that's bold. What I like to do is do a circular motion. What I would do here is I would do the bold, HCl, for instance, increase bile, and then the protease. Where's the protease? There. Okay, so I got 41% increased bile production. Then I would do the protease. That's very important for the small intestine and the gut, the issue with the gluten, to help with the gluten digestion and the wheat digestion. And then I would also do, after the protease, I got 37% for the bile. I'm doing protease right now, I got 63%, and do increase all enzyme production, because all is very important. You can never have enough enzyme production, okay? And especially as we're aging. So now that I got increase all enzyme production at 89, I would do all the other ones that I did to get a good rectification there as well. Circular motion. 119, increase bile production, and then increase and finish off with increased protein production. Okay? Great. So I'm finished with the, I could work, if you want, you can also work from here with, in general, the Nutrienergy Balance of the enzymes. It's up to you, but I usually work from that other panel. Now, I would like to finish off with the Nutri enzyme hormone stabilization here. Okay, this is the AFE program. Balancing nutrition, enzymes, and hormones. I will do it till you're over 100, but I'm not going to wait now because I still have a few things I want to go over. And I know your time is very precious. All of our time is very precious. So, okay, you do that. Okay, and the next place I would like to go is the NLP. Now, as I mentioned in the theory, peptides are also very important, an important part of digestion, right? the peptide balance. So what you would do is you would do these three here. Let me show you what I clicked. I clicked on mental factors and emotional chart. You go into this panel here and you have these three buttons here: neuropeptide balance, neuropeptide stimulation, and neuronet stabilization. I would do them one by one to get a rectification of over 85. This is very, very important. Okay, neuropeptide balancing and stabilization. The next thing that's very important is the neurotransmitters. You see how everything's important for proper digestive process and digestion of gluten and reduction of inflammation, because all this is interrelated. Okay, so what we want here to load for the neurotransmitters, very important, is the acetylcholine. Okay, and the other things that are important are this one, neuroepinephrine, okay, serotonin, leucine and ghrelin, oxytocin, okay, this one here also, cholecystokinin and dopamine. Okay, so what we do is have a 10-second zap of neurotransmitters. These play a very important role in the gut-brain axis again. Okay. And they play a very critical role in maintaining the homeostasis of the entire body, okay, and the gastrointestinal link. The neurotransmitters. Okay, neurotransmitters know that they play a very important role in the blood flow, in the gut mobility, in the nutritional absorption, gastrointestinal innate immune system, and the microbiome of the gut bowel flora. So we want a rectification of over 85. We got 88, so that's perfect. Other places that you can work here that are, all NLP and all factors play a role. Like I said, everything from it's the psychosomatic, okay, but some really good therapies that you can use. First of all, anxiety, break up fat cells for the fatty that we also worked beforehand. General cure, general health, immuno-neuro, very, very important, okay, because for the autoimmune dysfunctions there affecting neurological disorders, okay, very important. Stress involvement. Other items, okay, the Alzheimer came up, you can work whatever comes up as well. MS and other demyelination, very important. Vagus nerve balance. Like I said in the beginning, the vagus nerve is the connection between the gut and the brain and the gut-brain axis. So this will reduce inflammation. So it's a good idea to also work on that one. Here, the magic window, high frequency. Allergy, emotional connection, bacterial miasms, for the DNA that we have. Treating sugar cravings and balanced flora, also a good one. Not to mention the neurological etherical repair, okay? That's a good choice too, to use. So another place that we could work, always, when you close a panel, you shall notice that your cursor, your little pointer goes somewhere, and it went here, and look where it went. Base formula for liver qi stagnation, alleviates depression and emotional distress, benefits digestion. Nothing is by chance. Okay, so if you see something, you always observe where when you close a panel, where your little pointer goes and tells you a little story. Load it in your blue box, and load your items here. So you're working it as a piggyback. Go to your dark field analysis. Dark field analysis, very important place here. Blood treatments. We need to work. Okay, first of all, remember it's the microflora here from the fermentation from the FODMAP that I also mentioned before. I would do 3 minutes on the bone marrow. I would also do on the lipoprotein disorder, because remember the gluten issues, intolerance is a protein disorder. So you want to do that, okay, and the bone marrow, okay, and see what story you're being told here. Oh, there's so many places we can go. I'm not going to do therapy, so I can show you different other places as well. So you do these therapies till you get a good rectification. Okay, close. Other places that we can go is the Muscular Re-Education for athletes. Now, this is interesting. Look here, red is dopamine. What did I say before for the neurotransmitters? Dopamine was one of the important neurotransmitters for homeostasis and the digestive factors, because they make you happy. They reduce stress. These neurotransmitters, and the red ones is one that unconsciously is needed. Now you will notice sometimes we get like reds in the IgG or IgA. Remember what I said in my theory? IgA and IgG are factors involved for antibodies that are, tests that we do if there is an issue with, gluten intolerance, celiac disease, etc., and allergies there. Okay, so you can also check on those if you wish, or, if they are in red. Okay. Closing this, if you see here in the time therapies, we have places here that we can work. Apart from the red unconscious choices, we have digestive stimulation to help. Okay. Feel-good therapies are always good to do. Feel-good therapies, it's dopamine, serotonin, everything that I said before. They're always good to do because they help with the immune issues. Mucous membranes for the mucus that may have been built up due to the gluten issues and the sugar issues. Intestinal stimulation, okay, digestive stimulation, I said that. Okay, so, and you can piggyback down here if you want also gluten intolerance and anything else that you wish. Set your timer. You can also relieve inflammation, treat metabolic dysfunction, and start. Okay? Other places that you can also work here is Auto Zap. Okay, so let's see, because we closed the risk panel with Auto Zap closing, and we see, there we go, auto-aggressive dysfunction. Now here the AIDS virus, just as a parenthesis, so I can tell you, doesn't mean that, one of a person has AIDS, but it does mean that there is an autoimmune syndrome going on there. Okay, and in conjunction with the autoaggressive dysfunction. So yeah, definitely, you'd want to work that. Hepatitis doesn't mean that you have hepatitis, but it does mean that the liver is having a difficult issue. Herpes, there we go with the infection. Oops. You can work here. Lactose intolerance. Let's see what else. Limes. Food poisoning. Food poisoning is food poisoning, of course, but food poisoning also has to do with not eating the right foods that you should be, genetically modified foods, etc., etc. So that's a good one. Enzyme intolerance is also, there's no X there, but it's a good one to do. Feel-good therapy. Balance of bowel flora is a good one. Inflamed tissue is a good one. Mental health and bowel flora, brain and gut connection, very important. Okay, I want to make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to cover. I have my little notes here. Yeah, so, in the medical field, there are prevailing connections between, let's say, the bipolar depression and gluten, schizophrenia and gluten, autism and gluten, ADHD and gluten, neurodegenerative disease and gluten, like Alzheimer's, etc. So all these gluten sensitivities, many people have a disposition, let's say, for the Alzheimer and Parkinson. So by having a gluten sensitivity, they've noticed that amyloid plaque and neurofibrillary tangles is associated with, these neurological issues. So intestinal dysfunction and a lot of these neurological issues are the first signs and earliest manifestations of, these issues like Parkinson and depression and schizophrenia and multiple sclerosis. So, it's always good to ask people, where they are at and look at these issues with the gluten intolerance and intestinal dysfunction. Okay. So I think I covered everything. I know it was really brief. There was so much information to cover in a short time. We're here for you, whatever you wish. Send the company, send Peter, any ideas you want on new webinars as of 2023. We'll be happy to make new webinars. We'll be also announcing within a few days the new technicians and specialist dates for the beginning, end of January. And they're 40 hours. So, we're going to go into that too. I wish everyone a beautiful holiday. Thank you, Camilla. Thank you very much. I wish you a beautiful holiday, Christmas, New Year's, sending you lots of love and light and health to everyone. Love you all. Thank you. Thank you.